the more I saw of the merely abstract arguments against the Christian cosmology, the less I thought of them. I found the moral atmosphere of the Incarnation to be common sense. I then looked at the established intellectual arguments against the Incarnation and found them to be common nonsense. If I am asked why I believe in Christianity, I can only answer for the same reason that an agnostic disbelieves in Christianity.
There are, according to Chesterton, three typical arguments that the skeptic offers against Christianity. First, that humans are mere animals, just a variation of the same biology shared by the rest of the animal kingdom. Second, that religion originally arose out of ignorance and fear. And third, that organized religion has ruined societies with bitterness and gloom. Chesterton concedes that each of these anti-Christian arguments are quite logical and legitimate. His only objection to them is that they are all untrue. To the first argument, Chesterton says that if you really look at beasts and men, the startling thing is not how much men are like beasts, but how different they are. Apes may have hands, but they don't do much with them. They don't play the violin or eat with a knife and fork. Elephants don't build ivory temples, even in a primitive style. Camels don't paint pictures. Beehives have no statues of the gorgeous queens of old, and so on. Chesterton says we talk of wild animals, but man is the only wild animal. It is man that has broken out. Only man can be unpredictable and act against type. Only man can be a criminal or a monk. As for the second argument, that religion began in some darkness and terror, Chesterton says that when we examine the foundations of this modern idea, we find that there are no foundations. All of the legends of mankind point back not to some vague prehistoric fear, but to a clear belief in an actual paradise. It is the idea that religion began in fear and ignorance that is groundless, while the belief in paradise is rooted in human history.
The whole human race has a tradition of the fall. Amusingly enough, the very dissemination of this idea is used against its authenticity. Learned men literally say that this prehistoric calamity cannot be true, because every race of mankind remembers it.
And then the third argument, that priests and organized religion darken and embitter the world. A compelling argument, except for the fact that it just isn't true. The places where there is a rich culture of art and music and creativity are exactly the places where the church has been most prominent. Chesterton points out that the countries that are still influenced by priests are exactly the countries where there's still singing and dancing and colored dresses and art in the open air.
The most absurd thing that could be said of the church is the thing we have all heard said of it, that the church wishes to bring us back into the Dark Ages. In truth, the church was the only thing that ever brought us out of them.
So, Chesterton turns each of the arguments around. He challenges the skeptic to give an explanation. First, of why man towers over the brutes. Second, why there is a vast and human tradition of some ancient happiness. And third, of why there are such joyous and colorful customs in those countries of Catholic culture. He does the same thing with all the other arguments that come from the skeptics. When they say, for instance, that Christianity can't be true because so many other cultures have myths which closely parallel the Christian story, Chesterton responds, if Christianity is true, if Jesus really is the Son of God, isn't it perfectly natural that other cultures would have some hint of this great fact? Wouldn't there be other myths which mirror Christianity, and pagans who dream of the Son of God? When the skeptics say that Christians have invented God simply to fill a psychological need, Chesterton responds first by reminding us that the word psyche means soul. And yes, the soul does have a hunger for God, which, if there is a God, would be quite natural, and no more disproves the existence of God than hunger in the stomach disproves the existence of food. The skeptics try to tell us that Christianity has been an ascetic and gloomy thing. Look at those miserable saints who gave up home and happiness because of their ferocious single-mindedness. Chesterton responds, "The saints have indeed suffered, but the odd thing about them is that they were not miserable. Why would they surrender themselves to something if it were not true and not actual and solid? Why would they give up all the other pleasures unless it were for one surpassing spiritual pleasure? How does it prove that the hope for heaven is false just because that hope actually does sustain people?" And of course, Christianity has been accused of hypocrisy and cruelty and loads of other not nice things. And all these are offered up as evidence that Christianity is not just false, but a cruel hoax. Chesterton turns this one around too. He reasons that the world pays the highest compliment to the church by being so intolerant of the church's failures, which are the same failures that the world tolerates everywhere else. The world dismisses us as fools for trying to be true to our faith, but then condemns us when we are not. But either we are fools because Christianity is not true, or else we are hypocrites because it is true. We can't be both. Furthermore, to call Christianity false because it has been a failure is not only bad logic, it's bad history. Chesterton says that Christianity has never been enough of a success to properly be called a failure. The Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried. The claim that Christianity is true may be hard to accept, but that is only because, in general, the truth is harder to accept than a lie, because lies are designed to be accepted.
Truth is obviously stranger than fiction, for we have made fiction to suit ourselves.
Miracles are strange things, for instance, which is probably why they are called miracles. In one of the Father Brown stories, the little priest detective says that the most incredible thing about miracles is that they happen. And Chesterton maintains that the reason he believes in miracles is because there is evidence for them. Skeptics, on the other hand, do not believe in miracles because they will not accept the evidence. And the reason they will not accept the evidence is because they are dogmatists. Their dogma is materialism. They have a dogma against miracles. A materialist is simply not free to believe in miracles. His dogma tells him that there must always be some naturalistic explanation for what is called a miracle. But these naturalistic explanations are often more unbelievable than the miraculous ones. And nowhere is this more evident than when it comes to the miracle of the Incarnation, the central claim of Christianity, that Jesus Christ is indeed God in the flesh.